So you've decided that you want to get away from social media and the corporate web and set up a personal blog. Well, here's a few ways you might want to do that for free. And I'm going to go from the methods that require the least technical ability but give you the least flexibility, all the way to, at the end, how to self-host a website on a Raspberry Pi or an old laptop. I'm not going to go through all the details, but I'll tell you where to find some good resources and multiple different methods. So this is my blog. That's why that's there. But to start off, I've seen this becoming increasingly popular, and there's a good reason. It is a very good service. I do recommend it. Bearblog, you can see the URL here, bearblog.dev. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Privacy first, no nonsense, super fast blogging platform. No trackers, no JavaScript, no style sheets, just your words. It's very minimal. If we look at an example blog, this is the sort of thing your blog is going to look like. It's just text, which I personally think is amazing and what every website should be. It loads instantly. The web pages are super light. They give you RSS feeds, which are extremely useful. And they are somewhat customizable. It comes with a few style sheet options that you can choose, or you can create your own. And it's very, very easy to set up. And if you don't want to mess with any of that stuff, it just gives you a box. I don't have an account, but I have set this up for a friend before, or helped my friend set this up. And it just gives you a box in your web browser that you can type words into and make a blog post like that. It's very easy to use. If you don't want anything complicated, and you're okay with having a URL that is whatever your blog is, .bearblog.dev, unless you pay a little bit of money to them, I'd say Bearblog is probably pretty good for the majority of people. Now, of course, there is the consideration that you are not hosting this yourself. This is being hosted on someone else's computer somewhere. And there is an opportunity, there is a possibility that whoever runs Bearblog may in the future change it in a way that you don't like, or possibly it might go down, which actually happened to a similar service called Texty not so long ago. I used to recommend something very similar to this, which was called like TXTI, Texty, but that got taken down after the creator didn't want to run it anymore. And that's the sort of thing that can happen to these platforms, so it is something to be wary of. Next is Neoc Cities. This is what I use to host my blog. Also very popular. It's free, just like Bearblog. No ads. You can do your custom CSS. And have a look at all of the wonderful websites people create. People on Neoc Cities tend to make sort of retro 90s style websites, but you don't have to. You can make whatever kind of website you like. No JavaScript, no server-sided JavaScript. Static websites. You get a nice HTML editor in your browser. Now, the difference between this and Bearblog is you're going to have to know how to write HTML and CSS if you want to make a website on Neoc Cities, which on the one hand means you have to know how to write that. But on the plus side, it means that you get all of the customizability and creative options that enables. There's also a bunch of nice stuff in terms of, ways to upload directly from the command line with the Neoc Cities command line application. So if you want to write your website in Vim and then upload it like I do, that's extremely easy. I'm a big fan of Neoc Cities. It also comes with a whole bunch of other stuff, like kind of discoverability stuff. You can see how many, you get some analytics. I should say Bearblog actually also has this. If I open it up and I press view an example blog, you might be able to see. Do you see this button at the bottom here? This is like a like button. There's no accounts or anything like that, and you can't unclick it when you click it. But I find that quite interesting. Every Bearblog, you get a little sort of like or upvote button. There's no comments or anything like that, but that's pretty nice, I think. So anyway, sorry. But yeah, you can see all the sorts of really cool stuff people do on Neoc Cities, and it's a great way to discover websites because of all of these pages where you can sort of scroll through all of the other people's websites, and you can they have like tags, which is, it's nice if you want, Neoc Cities is kind of like a community with the discoverability, and you can follow people. If you like a website, you can follow them on Neoc Cities, and you'll get updates whenever they update their website. I think Neoc Cities is great. I think it's great. Also, they have a paid version where you don't get a .neocities.org URL, and you can have more storage space. And I think you can do some server-sided JavaScript and have a non-static website if that seems like something you're interested in. I definitely big fan of Neoc Cities. But of course, more complex than Bearblog, because you have to know some basic HTML, which I should say is extremely easy to learn. HTML is not even a programming language. It's just a few tags. You can learn enough to make a basic website in about 5 minutes. It's very easy, and it's fun. So I use Neoc Cities, so yeah, I can recommend it. Of course, we still do have the conundrum where we're hosting this. This is a business. This is someone else's computer. You don't know what decisions they're going to make in the future. There have been some instances, for example, where websites have been taken off of Neoc Cities for copyright violations, DMCA takedowns. So if that's something that concerns you, I would say you probably don't want to be on Neoc Cities. But for the vast majority of people, I think I can safely recommend Neoc Cities. Next, we're going to get a little more complicated. This is something I find very cool, but it's going to take a little bit of explaining. So this is tildeverse.org, which is not a website hosting service in itself. What it is just a list of, somewhere here, a list of some public access Unix systems, or pubnixes. And what that is it's basically a Unix system, normally running BSD or Linux, which you can SSH into and have a user account on this public Unix system. And most of them offer web hosting for free, which I think is extremely cool. What I like about public access Unix systems is that they are sort of communal and community-oriented, pro-social way to exist on the internet that isn't social media. So a lot of them will have IRCs or something similar to that, or little games that you can play, like Astrobotany, which is a little bit like a Tamagotchi, and all sorts of stuff like that. But also they'll let you host a website, and a lot of them will also let you host, for example, tilde.pink. This is something you should be a bit wary of. So for example, tilde.pink only has Gopher and Gemini hosting, and if you don't know what those are, you probably don't want to join that one. So you should look into the members. You should read up on them before you join. So like Cosmic Voyage, not good to just host your blog talking about Minecraft or whatever the hell, because this is a shared fiction project, which is extremely cool, by the way, and you should definitely check out Cosmic Voyage. But everyone is involved in this sort of shared group fiction project, sci-fi narrative. But some of them are, a lot more open. Most of them will just let you host pretty much anything. Control-C.club, and here we can see a whole bunch of different users doing stuff, being active. And pretty much every single one of these are not all run by the same person, right? This is just sort of a compilation that lists some of them. There are lots of others that aren't on this list. For example, as far as I know, the oldest one, sdf.org. You can see we have this is a very, very old one. This has been going since 1987. But this offers web hosting and Gemini and Gopher hosting, if that's something that interests you, which I think is an advantage of joining a public access Unix system. And of course, because this is so old, it has a very strong community. So this is actually, if you understand what I've been talking about, if you know what SSH means, if you know how to navigate a Unix command line, very basically, if you use Linux, I use Artix, by the way, this will be very natural to you. This will be very easy to you. You will slot right in, and it's a great place to host a website on a non-corporate platform, and join a community of like-minded people. And it's just really fun. I highly recommend joining a public access Unix system. But if you don't know anything about how to use the Unix command line, it's a great place to learn. It's one of the best ways to learn the basics of navigating the Unix command line. And how the basics of writing HTML and CSS and whatever the hell else you want to do works. I think it's one of the best places to learn. All of these communities are extremely friendly and welcoming to new people. I would strongly recommend looking into some of these pubnixes, either on tildeverse.org, joining one of these, or this. Again, I want to emphasize, this is not a list of every tilde or pubnix that exists in the world, right? This is just some of them. This is just a small group. There are many more that are not members of tildeverse, and you should do some DuckDuckGoing and look around and see if you find anything that interests you, because it's really great. I think it's a great way to use the internet. And yeah, just most of them will offer free web hosting or free Gopher hosting or Gemini hosting if that interests you. And yeah. And then finally, if you have an old laptop lying around or a Raspberry Pi that you don't know what to do with, you could always just host a website yourself in your house. Now, of course, technically you're paying for electricity costs and you're probably going to have to buy a domain name. So this one isn't literally free. But it does give you the most control. You literally are in control of absolutely everything, pretty much as much as you reasonably can be, because it's sitting in your house. And it sounds very complicated. It does, but it's really not that hard. If you go to, I would recommend, if you go to homebrewserver.club and then you click on guides and then fundamentals, this will basically just talk you through in very clear language exactly how to do it. And in particular, this one, setting up a web server, it's very clear. It will explain everything in concise and clear language, how to set up an Apache web server. And it seems very complicated, but really it's just following instructions. It just tells you which commands to do, and you just execute those commands. It's really not that difficult. Maybe a bit more of an advanced thing, maybe if you don't want to have all of that responsibility for managing the entire back end of your server, that's very reasonable. Most people don't want to do that, and that's fine. But if this seems like this is more of a project than the other ones, setting up a bare blog, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff, and that's completely fine. But if you want to have a fun project and learn something along the way about how the internet works, self-hosting a web server with a basic website on it, it's surprisingly easy. The internet is actually a two-way street, as much as the corporate webs, the corporate web would try and make you forget this. The internet is a two-way street, and it's surprisingly easy, and it's quite fun if you're a massive fucking nerd. So I think this is a pretty good guide. There's lots of other guides on the internet of how to set up a simple web server. This is just a one that I like. You can find others. And it's an option. It's an option that you should consider. You should think, is this right for me? It might not be. There's a very good chance it won't be. But, it is worth considering. You don't have to have someone else do all the work for you. It can be interesting, fun, learning experience and give you total control over your server if that's something you're interested in, to self-host. So it's something that's worth considering. But if this is still too much for you and you don't know which one to pick, you can go by basically what is your knowledge level and how much are you willing to do homework. Do you want to do homework, or do you not want to do homework? If you have very little tech knowledge and you don't particularly want to do a bunch of homework, I'd say Bearblog is a good place to start. If you know how to write in HTML and CSS, but nothing more than that, then Neoc Cities is good. If you know or want to learn how to operate the Linux command line, then try out a Pubnix. And if you know how to set up an Apache server, you probably aren't watching this video. But if you want to learn, then set one up yourself. This is a great option. So if you just want a recommendation purely from my perspective, you don't want to do any thinking, I would say joining a public access Unix system is great fun. I think they are great projects that should be supported, and they're really nice communities that are full of wonderful people, and you will learn a lot about computers, and you will meet a lot of really cool people, and it's not corporate. I think they're just great, and plus a lot of them, you might get to learn about Gemini and Gopher, which I think are excellent. So joining a public access Unix system would be my personal recommendation, but of course, you should just take into account whatever the hell your personal situation is, and that's about how you make a website, simple blog or whatever. If you do make a blog, please. Bear in mind that a lot of us still use RSS, and RSS is the best way to keep up with people's personal websites outside of social media. So look into RSS. If you're using Bearblog, they do it automatically. If you're on Bearblog, you automatically generate an RSS feed, which is great. But if you're on any of these other services, you're going to have to set that up yourself. Look into it. Consider it strongly. Please do, because I like that. Okay, bye-bye.